From the trial to the trail, Donald Trump firing up a massive crowd of up to 100,000 people in deep blue New Jersey.
Officially play in the state of New Jersey. We're going to win the state of New Jersey. You could take the 10 worst presidents in the history of our country, add them up. They haven't done the damage to our country that this total moron has done.
And with the election less than 6 months away, Trump is clobbering Joe Biden in 5 key battleground swing states among likely voters, all of which Biden won in 2020, including a double-digit lead in Georgia and Nevada. So is the writing on the wall? One of the president's favorite commentators, CNN's Fareed Zakaria, seems to think so.
I have to admit, none of this is playing out as I thought it would. Trend lines are not working in Biden's favor. He needs to do something bold and dramatic to seize the initiative.
Trump's more ahead than he's ever been. Everything that we're throwing is spaghetti at a wall, and none of it is sticking. What we're doing is really, really not working.
So we have an expert here on the Jersey Shore, and that would be Jesse Waters. And Jesse, it used to be Jim Tan Laundry, and now it's Jim Trump Laundry, it appears.
GTL, for real. So Johnny was there. You'll see that tonight. Oh. And he said it wasn't 100,000. He said it was closer to 30,000. That's still a packed venue, and that's still, I would say, 29,500 more than Joe's ever had. And he did promise that if he was reelected, to terminate the windmills that are pockmarking the Jersey Shore and save the whales, so that's a twofer. I like the new nickname, Moron Joe. Sleepy was good, but it wasn't effective enough. If you have one side calling you a Nazi genocidal dictator, and he just says you're a moron, I think that sticks. The guy's opening up the border. He's breaking the bank. He doesn't know where he is when he leaves the stage. Moron Joe is going to land, and I can feel it. Now, if you look at these polls, the Rust Belt's out of reach if these numbers stick. Nevada, double digits, and Arizona. And then Georgia, because of Lake and Riley and Fannie Willis, that's gone. So that just makes it a battle for the Rust Belt. And so Trump only needs one. He only needs one. And it looks like the whites are going to come back home because he lost a little white. He lost some of that white vote that he had with Hillary. Some of those whites, you know how persnickety they can be. They went to Joe Biden in 2020. The whites are coming home in the Rust Belt. But his, I'm going to call it diversité, is really increasing because of the young and the black and the Hispanic. It was a 12% diversité coalition last time. It's up to 19% diversité, Katie. And that's all economic opportunity. You just don't have it. You can't buy a house. There's no way to get off your parents' couch. And so these feelings are entrenched. There's never been a position where a candidate at this point in May has been down every single battleground and ever come back. The only candidate to do that was Donald Trump.
Oh, there you go. So, Judge, it seems like the Trump campaign and Donald Trump want to expand the map. They're willing to go into New Jersey. There's talk about him going into New York. There's also thoughts that he could win Virginia if he plays his cards correctly. So are Democrats trying to play catch up? And why are they also not nervous about Joe Biden being down by so much in the polls?
Well, they are nervous. They are nervous, and they know. I mean, who's the one who just said, Fareed Zakaria said it's got to be a bold and dramatic move to seize the initiative or whatever. He's never done anything bold and dramatic for the last 3.5 years. I don't know what makes him think he can do it now. But you know what I think is significant is that Trump and Biden are essentially tied among 18 to 29-year-olds, tied. And Hispanic voters. But more than that, I think that this trial, if you put the A block and the B blocks together, I think that one of three things are happening. Number one, either people don't care about the trial, or people don't believe that Donald Trump is guilty, or people are totally offended by the concept of one party bringing a criminal charge against a man who's a former president running for president. And I think that's going to affect American history. And I think to all of Americans, it's somehow offensive to us to be in this situation where you're literally putting a man on trial in a criminal case while he is running for president. It's just so It's so untasteworthy. It's so inappropriate. It just stings Americans. And so I think that that has a lot to do with it. Now, Joe Biden apparently is planning on bringing out all the celebrities. Now, he's going to bring out Clooney and Eva Longoria and Julia Roberts. Well, none of these celebrities helped Hillary Clinton when she ran against Trump. And so when you get a blue state like New Jersey, and I don't know if it's 30,000 or 100,000, which is what I'm reading in the reports, whatever it is, you've got a guy on trial who's showing up, and people are showing up like crazy, bigger than we've ever seen in Wildwood. That's what they said for sure. So I think that in the end of all this, the swing states are going to stay deeply by Trump against Biden, especially for all the reasons you just said, Jesse.
So, Harold, you know, Trump is the king of rallies and showmanship, but Democrats are the Olympians of voters, and they plan to be ahead by millions of votes ahead of Election Day for Biden. So is that a good thing for Democrats when it comes to these
Well, I think
polls?
it's a good thing for first of all, these polls you have to take very seriously. They're 5 months out, but this is a snapshot of where the country is and where 5 or 6 really important states are. Interesting to me to see that in Georgia and Nevada, the former President Trump is at 50. In polls, if you're an incumbent and you're below 50 against your opponent, it's always a challenge. And you look at the poll and see if someone's at 50, that's always telling. Now, we're 5 months out. And we'll have to see what happens. If I'm Biden and the team, I take the alarm that Carville and others have been sharing. It's time to change some things because what's happening is frankly not working. That doesn't mean that you're not right, that you don't care, that the things you're campaigning on right now are not things that Americans need and Americans want, but it's not working with voters. I'd get to the border. I'd announce 4 executive orders at the border and then call on Republicans to pass the compromise bill and say, President Trump, release the Republicans and let them do it. Meg Johnson, you did the right thing on Israel. You did the right thing on China and Russia and battling back at them with the foreign aid bill. Do that, Mr. President. Go and acknowledge gas prices are high. Grocery prices are high. Talk about the investments we're making as a country and the tariffs you're going to put on China. Use that money to bring down our debt and use that money to ensure that we're able to fight at our border. You've got to be different, and you got to meet people where they are. The polling data that shows us down also shows what's on voters' minds. And if we're not attuned to, if we're not committed to and invested in that, then we're going to lose. The only good thing about this poll right now is we've got 5 months to deal with it. But you can't deal with it seriously if you're not serious about what the numbers say.
Sounds like advice, Greg, for Biden to be moderate Joe like he was the first time around.
It's too late. Though Joe is beating Trump in one state. Confusion. By the way, it's good to see Harold starting to panic, right? That's what you did. That's like,
I'm just trying to light them up a little bit here.
Yeah,
I don't think
you're
they
starting
understand.
to worry, and I like that.
I've said that for a while. I've worried.
Yeah, Shiny Greg has a point. I think you're starting to see the realization that things aren't going well. You're seeing the doubts in the media for Zakaria, the frantic stares in the media, the blame throwing. They're like on a lifeboat that's run out of food, and they're starting to eye each other suspiciously, and yet they're so close to land. Yet that land is called MAGA country. But their egos won't let them swim to shore. They'd rather go down in the boat in the never Trump ocean than find joy and pleasure in MAGA country. Carville said they were throwing everything at Trump. Not true. They haven't actually tried to persuade voters with policy or anything. So far, it's just been apocalyptic hysteria and unconstitutional lawfare. So everything that they've actually tried is the reason why you had 100,000 people in New Jersey, Jesse.
I'll recheck the numbers.
Or as CNN called it, just a few insurrectionists. That's a reaction to what Americans are seeing right now, which is un-American. What scares me, though, is that when you see these Trump polls and you see these rallies, I'm worried about what we don't see. What are the Democrats cooking up with the votes? Legal or illegal? Judging by your ears or your eyes, this election should not even be close. So the Dems have 2 options. One, accept the outcome, be comforted by the fact that you got one Biden term, a deal with a dementia-ridden devil, or resort to electoral dirty tricks. And that's why we need the utmost transparency, because I fear the Dems will go the second route. Although I have very little evidence on that, but that hasn't stopped me before.
They haven't done any of that.
No, never, not at all.
Never.
We won the last election.
One.
We have to win so big you can't rig.
Yes,
Which is what
win
Trump
so
said over
big
the
you can't
weekend.
rig.
That's right,
Good
Harold.
job,
That's what he said.
Jesse.
Welcome.
He took that from
Sort of like you
Trump.
guys did with W.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on. What's the deal with these pro-Hamas morons? Anti-Israel agitators walk out of Jerry Seinfeld's commencement speech.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.